Good evening, everybody. How's it going? I actually wanted to start off this intro with like a more optimistic outlook and view, but I realized something. Well, beyond the usual like things that we already know, like there are things that I would call eternal truths, if you will. So, short people are always going to be short, weak people are always going to be weak, fat people are always going to be fat, and dumb people are always going to be dumb, you know? Now, those things aren't necessarily like in correlation with each other, but they're attributes about people that are deemed very unattractive, very, very unattractive. And it comes to the point where you get to a part in your life where you ask yourself, like, why is it that things are the way that they are? And it's most likely because you're burdened with these weak people who all the strong people in the world have to pick up after. And they play the part. They play pretend. They act like they are strong, like they are capable, like they are better than you, better than me. And here we are with the situation in Iran. And who else could fit this description more than the dumbass, retard, balding ass moron who fakes his everything than Hassan himself, right? Hassan the pussy piker. Um, cheerleading for Iran, the regime of Iran. And it's like, I go through some of these videos watching it, and I think one of the harder ones was when you hear about the security forces opening fire on this civilian protesters, and then you see the video taken by, I guess, either a phone or a GoPro or something like that, but it's like pretty good resolution, and it's like zoomed in to a building, and you just see them just unleashing controlled bursts. So they're taking aim, and they're specifically singling out people, and then opening fire. And they're also lining up the body bags. You can see, like, a bunch of them. Asmongold actually, thankfully, pointed it out. It's kind of like weird how Hassan has all this anger and pent up rage about, like, Asmongold and, like, basically becoming this, like, fake loser, like, wannabe who was literally, like, shocking his dog, even just recently, just shocked his dog because of the whole situation in Iran. Like, I I gotta be honest, man. Like the weak have lost. The weak have lost, right? You see this like one girl. She's like pretending to be Iranian, talking some shit. She turns out she's from like Pakistan, and it's like she's not alone. Like you have all these like fucking sad Arabs and shit. Like yo, their religion's going to shit, and it's like yo, good luck trying to go up in the country and like make people like wear hijabs and like do whatever. You're gonna get the shit slapped out of you, dude. Like all the civilians have had enough of this shit. They've been ruled over by a bunch of fucking homosexual faggots. Yeah, and they probably know it better than anybody else because they're like right next to Afghanistan. Because it's like, can you imagine, like the GIs, the soldiers, the Rangers, like of the highest versions of armed forces going into Afghanistan in the beginning months and describing what they see, and everybody, like myself included, just writing it off. We're like, oh my god, you hate these people. Like, there's no way. Islam isn't about homosexuality. They don't have that. There's no way. And then guess what? Guess what? Oh, dude. Oh, dude. I don't know. I don't know what. I need some medication. What can I say? Because what I'm about to tell you, and then the pictures are out there, by the way. That's the worst part. Oh my god. So a long while back, like I forget how long ago, we're talking about pre like COVID-19 time, so like maybe 2015, 2016. Cenk Uygur was doing like this interview, and he's just like talking all this sus ass shit about how he wants to fuck horses or some shit like that. And I was just like, that's oddly specific. But then, like, when you think about it in hindsight, with like Hassan riding on the horse, it's like, oh, okay, okay, I see, right, all right. But then the plot thickens. It gets stickier. Your fingers, your get stuck together. Oh. What am I referring to? Yeah, that's right. It's hereditary. I think like the mental retardation is like, set into like the whole fucking bloodline, dude. Like when you see the fucking family pictures and people be like, yo, don't judge a bug bucket's cover and shit. Like, nah, dog, I'm judging away, man. Like there's something the fuck wrong, man. There's something that happened. They're like, yo, so Hassan's a furry dog. And, like probably even a furry dog, like literally a dog, like probably dresses up as one. And the pictures are out there. I mean, if you're curious, go look it up. I'm a fucking grown ass man. I'm like, you know what? That's a little too much information. Like I'll laugh about it and then I'll just leave it at that. Like I don't need to be seeing this man in this like, you know, furry costume and shit. Fucking adult male diapers or some other fucking fucked up shit that these fuckers pull off and stuff. That's how it is, right? The world's a changing. Venezuela is getting like fucking like taken over. It's gonna be reshuffled. They're gonna be like exporting that, oil, that fuel, that gas, right? And can you imagine like we're living in this timeline, right? Where a man was like completely humiliated by like kids. Well, people half his age. Um, the main man on like one of the most visible guys on the platform was just like fucking humiliating him, and then like literally just like gets shafted by like pretty much everybody. Doesn't want to help out his friends, feels like jaded about pretty much any and everything in his life. The weak have lost, man. And he took his entire movement with him. Like, can you imagine ISIS in the Middle East acting up now? Like, all they got was what, Nigeria, Sudan, and everybody knows that, like, yo, if you're going to Dubai, if you're supporting the UAE, Qatar in any way, shape, or form, because they expelled the American diplomats, they told them to get lost because of their like stance on like the sovereignty of Iran. Iran's got it has to shoot it out with the civilians, and when the bodies pile up, then the United States could go in, much like Sudan. But I'm gonna go off on a tangent here about Sudan, and people aren't gonna like what I have to say, but I kind of feel as if like the indoctrination that we have against black people and against like the whole fatalistic nature of like the helping them. Like you don't want to help out Haiti, you don't want to help out Nigeria, you don't want to help out Somalia, and then subsequently you don't want to help out Sudan, which is currently experiencing like one of the world's worst, or it's gonna come up to be the world's worst genocides if people can actually go up in there and count the bodies, because it's one thing to see it from satellite imagery. Well, it doesn't account for everything. It doesn't account for mass graves. It doesn't account for people getting rid of bodies. Most likely, that's going to be the thing that happens. You're going to see gigantic, chimneys or whatever. Um, what do you call them again? Incinerators, right? For that grim, procedures of body disposal. And you have to bring it up because why did it happen? Because, well, we were told constantly that when crimes happen, it overwhelmingly involves black people and this and that, and we should always, be extra cautionary around them. And then it's just like it cooked the books for so long that I think even black people just like got fed up with it and just like kind of fell into it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like they don't care what you care about them regardless, because they know that you're fucking indoctrinated and you're just dumb, right? So they just like sigh and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to like live my life. You could judge me however you want. And I'm not saying like black people are you know 100% like, super innocent angels and shit. Like, a lot of them can go around and doing bad things, but I gotta bring it up, dog. I don't know if I'm like tripping or maybe like, kind of icing on somehow in the darkest depths, the reaches of the internet, he got behind the VPN and he's just like, yo, I'm gonna go stealth. People are on my dick too much. I need to know what they really, really think about me. And then somehow he found my video. I'm like, oh, okay. Fucking, how many subscribers I have again? Still have like less than 20. Yeah, I'm like nothing. So like, yo, for sure, I'm like shadow banned and all that shit. And even still, like, um, and I'm not saying like, okay, I'm just tripping. I was thinking like he completely took my advice. I'm pretty sure everybody else around him was telling him more or less the same thing. But he did it, man. He did it. He championed himself out of the whole bullshit. Like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say about the whole idea of becoming a child actor slash child musician. Like, so let's say, in the case of Justin Bieber, right? Like, you don't have to be typecast as that forever. Like, there is a way out of it, but it takes time and it maybe takes distance. I don't know if that's right for you, but it's right for Kai. Like, the guy came from like New York City, I think the Bronx or something, Harlem. Um, Heavily populated, densely populated. Like, like I kind of chastised them for the whole, giving out PS5s, but like to him, that's probably like, he has the chance to do it, so I'm gonna do it. But like, you're in New York City, like you can't be nice. You can't be nice in a place that populated and stuff, and like people are gonna get hurt, people acting out, all that stuff. You got blamed for it, and then subsequently, all these things happen, all this drama happened over the years. You get blamed for it, you get blamed for it, you get blamed for it, and then eventually, after all this years of bullshit, you're trying to like hang on to like your identity. You haven't really changed all that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna try to speak for you and say how it is and shit, but I'm just seeing from the outside. It's like it just seems to me you stay genuine to who you were when you began streaming to when you ended it, for better or for worse, and then like it happened to you. But like I said, you could do better, and look, you're doing better, like 100% better. So much like I think like the Hollywood actors who start like young Hollywood actors who start off young and like musicians, etc., and then they get caught up in the whole like I got to be around famous people or I got to like do crazy shit all the time or whatever, right? He did the exact opposite. Wait, right now, what the fuck? Sasuke. Yeah, dude. Even my Japanese friends tripping out about the Somalians and stuff. It's just like, how come they're protecting them and like not protecting the Iranians? It's just like, and people are going against Trump fighting in Iran. So, like I was saying, like when you see the national Iranian Guard, whatever, like these crazy ass people who are shooting the civilians and stuff, doing those control bursts, like I could feel my heart, like clenching every single time you hear those bullet things, whatever. Because like think about it like this. The ultimate goal for weak people, weak men, is for all the guns and weapons and like anything to be in their hands so that they can control you in perpetuity, right? And so like if you have like stuff like this, they'll be like, haha, I taught you a lesson. You thought you can like, fight for your freedoms and stuff. You thought girls can like, take your hijab off or whatever. And then like, et cetera, right? Like it just adds like layers and layers of their insecurities. So they just shoot all these people and they don't want you to shoot at them. So they take away your ability to have guns. They say it's illegal. You know, it's like that in Canada. It's like that in a lot of Europe countries. And like, think about the juxtaposition about how they have the Iranian flag like hung basically up at Young Street on Young Street near Steeles. So like Young and Steeles in Ontario, basically Toronto at that point. It technically south of Steeles is Toronto. So there they put up that flag and that sign, and I saw it. I was just like, you see our mayor, you see all these fucking retards there. It's just like, God damn it, you fucking idiot. It's like a totalitarian regime. He's gonna come back to bite you in the ass. So I can imagine that, like, people have already, if they haven't vandalized it by now, it's going to be um one of these things that it's a very big turning point in our lifetime. A big turning point in our lifetime, because for far too long we've been at the mercy of fanatics. It's okay, dude. You have a religion and shit, but why do we have to like obey it? And like, you know what I mean? Like, why does it apply to us? Like, it's you're acting as if like you were there to breastfeed us when we were like babies, and like you're there the whole time, and like this and that. And it's like, it's this kind of like parasitism of like you're trying to take the spot of somebody else's parents, of somebody else's, like, entire bloodlines, this entire nations and countries, languages, everything, and then replacing it with like fuck all, right? Where your country's bankrupt, a bunch of terrorists have used their what, like the money that they were getting to like launch rockets at Israel to like no success. Like, think about it. If they took like maybe 300 rockets and they said, you know what, let's sell these and buy some food, they probably have enough food for like a couple years, maybe two. Let's be honest. Like, those missiles were expensive. Those rockets were expensive. You don't get like rockets that like go from one country to the other with all that missile fuel in it, because it has to go faster than normal stuff. So it has to be like possibly like stupid high octane and shit. Oh my god, it's like 120 proof, 150 proof rocket fuel type shit. You're just like, yeah, let's launch it at Israel. It's so fast. It's like supersonics. And some of those missiles hit. So it's like, I wouldn't say that's a good thing. I would just say that's like, you kind of basically deserve the situation that you're in 100%. And like anybody who says otherwise, right? And then we got to talk about the otherwise. So the press is literally the enemy of the people. Okay? In two instances, from the Telegraph and subsequently Bloomberg. So on behalf of the Telegraph, they ran a headline. Uh, the Shah of Iran is conjuring. That's the word that they're using. Conjuring, like a magical spell. Like, he can't actually do it with his speeches and like rallies people. He's conjuring, guys. You have to pay attention to these like usages of words, because the language, English language, is very like nuanced like that, and like people could always like overlook that level of like not only sarcasm but like double meanings and this and that. Like a conjuring, it's like you're calling the Prince of Iran some like magician, or like some like hoax creator, basically, by saying that, like some like fraud, right? So like, I'm not okay, well, you know what I mean, like magicians are like akin to tricksters and shit like that, right? So, and then like they said like he's conjuring it from the safety of his American suburb. No, wealthy American suburb. Like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even like a few days into the protest. I think these headlines preceded the massacre of the civilians by the radical elites. All right, the radical elites of homosexuals that inhibit this land, that want women to cover up so they can like fuck men in the ass, and like nobody will question them, and nobody will believe them because they kill everybody else who's outside of like this cult, and where everyone's finding out, like, there's a picture up there out there of Assad in a furry suit. Like, what is even going the fuck on in our lives? In our lives, Like the weak didn't just lose; they like lost in like fucking in style, dude. Like I'm actually impressed. Like Andrew Tate talking about like, yo, they're gonna make a book about his life. No, they're gonna make a movie about all you fucking idiots. And they're gonna put you all inside of it together, and you're all gonna be like starring with each other, and like, you're all side characters. You're no fucking main characters in this shit, man. Oh, and by the way, GPUs, the prices are this and that, blah blah blah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, well, I'm gonna be in business for like a long ass time making video games with the Unreal Engine, and so is everybody else who gives a fuck about that. But like, besides the point, like the weak have like abundantly lost in such a fucking degree and level that they're just gonna relentlessly like try to berate us to no avail. But like, yeah, yeah, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. You know it's coming, right? Like, I think the idea of a man like Trump existing in the lives of so many weak men is kind of polarizing, where it's like I think like they feel it's just not fair, whether they were just like dealt a bad hand in life or whatever. Is America protecting Somalians? Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's how it is because they got their money. They got tied up with them. Plus, it's like like the weak people. They like kind of mesh together, and they like try to assault you together. Like it's gonna work, and then eventually you just you know realize that much like their cowardice, if you experience that level of cowardice that they have, like if you allow the reflection of their insecurities to like bear down on you, then you lose, right? And I think that that was the failure of us men to like not stand up to like the regime of Iran, and now their civilian populations is like fucking cooked because there's no there's no spots for refugees. There's no spots for whatever. Like people will argue, obviously, and like you know what? I want to be wrong. I actually want this time. I want to be wrong about this. I want to be like, hey, they're actually taking these people in. There's like accommodations for them. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be okay. And you're an idiot. And I'm like, all right, cool, fine, sure. But we all know the answer to that. Like by the million, the boatloads of weak men have come in, Muslims, um, saying that they're lying about fleeing war and taking the spots of women so that they can like embellish their homosexual cult because it's like there things are happening, gangbangs in like the UK. The grooming gangs are still popping off and shit, you know touching tips. All right, you better watch out.